Captain Lee Minho gripped the railing of the bridge as the stars outside slowly stopped their wild dance. The new dawn had just completed humanity's first jump through space faster than light itself. His heart was still racing from the experience. "Status, report," he called out, trying to keep his voice steady. Navigation Officer Park Soyoung bent over her instruments, her fingers dancing across the control panel. "Jump successful, Captain. We're exactly where we planned to be, but... She paused, her eyes widening as she studied the readings. "But what?" Minho asked, moving closer to her station. "Sir, I'm picking up energy signatures. Lots of them. They're not natural formations either. Someone built these things." Soyoung's voice carried a mixture of excitement and fear. "Chief Science." Officer Kim Tajin rushed to his own console, his hands moving quickly over the controls. "Confirmed, Captain. We're looking at artificial structures. Ships, I think, and they're big." Minho felt his stomach drop. They had hoped to find signs of alien life, but not this quickly, not surrounding them like this. Through the main viewing screen he could see small points of light moving against the starfield. They were getting closer. "How many?" he asked. Quietly, 12 vessels, Captain. No wait. 15 now. More are appearing." Soyoung's voice was tight with tension. Engineer Choi Haewon looked up from her station near the back of the bridge. "Captain, our quantum drive is making some strange noises. I think the jump stressed it more than we expected. I might need to shut it down for repairs." Before Minho could respond, the communication system crackled to life. A voice spoke in perfect English, though it had an odd musical quality that made it sound not quite human. "Unknown vessel, this is Commander Velther of the Hegemony Patrol Fleet. You have entered restricted space. Identify yourself immediately." Minho exchanged glances with his crew. They had practiced this moment hundreds of times, but nothing had prepared them for how real it would feel. "This is Captain Lee Minho of the Earth vessel New Dawn. We come in peace, seeking contact with other intelligent species." There was a long pause. When the voice returned, it sounded puzzled. "This designation is not in our records. How did you achieve faster-than-light travel?" "We developed it ourselves," Minho replied honestly. "It took us many years, but we finally succeeded." Another pause. This one even longer. Minho could hear his crew holding their breath. Finally, the alien voice returned, but now it sounded troubled. "This is ... unexpected. All species in this region achieved FTL capability through guidance from existing hegemony members. Independent development is ... The voice trailed off, as if the speaker wasn't sure how to finish the sentence. Kim Tajin was studying the alien ships through the sensors. "Captain, their technology is amazing, but something's strange about it. All their ships look almost identical, different sizes, but the same basic design. It's like they all came from the same blueprint." Minho nodded, filing that information away. "Commander Velthor, we request permission to dock and establish formal diplomatic contact." "Negative. You will maintain your current position while we determine the appropriate response to your presence. Do not attempt to leave or alter your course." "Understood, Commander." The communication ended, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Minho looked around at his crew. They were all young, all chosen for this mission because of their skills and adaptability. Now they were truly alone, surrounded by alien ships in the depths of space. Choi Haewon cleared her throat. "Captain, about those repairs. I really should look at the quantum drive. Some of the components are overheating." "Go ahead, but be careful. We might need to leave quickly." As Haewon worked on the drive, she muttered to herself, pulling apart panels and rerouting connections in ways that looked completely random to anyone watching. But Minho had seen her work before. She had an intuitive understanding of machinery that often amazed even trained engineers. Unknown to the crew, several alien observers had materialized on their ship, studying them through advanced stealth technology. These beings watched in confusion as Haewon fixed problems by methods that violated every principle of proper engineering they knew. Yet somehow, her repairs worked perfectly. Hours passed. The alien ships maintained their positions around the New Dawn, neither approaching nor backing away. Minho found himself pacing the bridge, stopping occasionally to stare out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, impossibly far away. Here, they were truly alone. Kim Tajin broke the silence. "Captain, I've been analyzing their communication signals. They're not just talking to us. They're sending messages back and forth between their ships, and some signals are going much further out. I think they're reporting to their superiors." "What kind of reports?" "Hard to say exactly, but the volume of communication suggests this is a big deal for them. We've definitely surprised them. Minho nodded grimly. First contact was supposed to be humanity's greatest achievement. Instead, it felt like they had accidentally kicked over a hornet's nest. The aliens seemed worried about something, and that worry was spreading. The new dawn drifted in space, surrounded by strange ships filled with beings they couldn't yet imagine, while decisions about humanity's future were being made in distant places by minds that thought in ways no human could understand. Dr. Yoon Ji-woo sat across from the strangest being she had ever seen. Cathara looked like a giant insect, with 6 arms and large compound eyes that seemed to see everything at once. But when the alien spoke, her voice was soft and musical, almost gentle. "I do not understand your species," Cathara said, tilting her head in a way that reminded Ji-woo of a curious bird. "We have been studying you for 3 days now, and nothing makes sense." Ji-woo smiled. "What confuses you the most?" "Everything." Katara's eyes seemed to shimmer as she spoke. "In our society, each being has a role. I am a researcher. I study things. That is what I do, what I have always done, what I will always do. But you, ... She gestured with 2 of her arms. "Yesterday you were studying our language. Today you helped fix our computer system. This morning I saw you teaching our younglings human songs. How can one being do so many different things?" "We just do what needs to be done," Ji-woo replied. "Is that really so strange?" "Very strange. Our warriors fight, our builders construct, our thinkers contemplate, our healers heal. Each species in the hegemony has their purpose, their specialty. It has worked this way for thousands of years." Before Ji-woo could respond, the sound of machinery filled the air. Through the large window of the research station, they could see pilot SEO Junho working on one of the alien transport vessels. He was supposed to be resting, but when he heard the aliens having trouble with their ship, he had volunteered to help. Kithra's eyes focused on the scene outside. "Watch him work," she said quietly. "He is doing it wrong, but it is working anyway." Junho had removed several panels from the alien engine and was connecting components in ways that made no sense to the watching alien technicians. They kept pointing and making worried sounds, but they didn't stop him. The engine had been broken for days, and their own engineers couldn't fix it. "Your pilot is not following proper procedures," Cathara explained. "He is mixing systems that should never be mixed. He is using parts for purposes they were not designed for. By all our knowledge, what he is doing should cause the engine to explode. Instead, the engine hummed to life, running smoother than it had in months." The alien technicians stepped back in amazement, talking rapidly among themselves in their own language. "Junho is good with machines," Ji-woo said simply. "He can make almost anything work. But he is a pilot, not an engineer. How can he know engineering? He learned it. Humans learn many things." Cathara was quiet for a long moment. "This troubles our leaders greatly. If beings can simply learn new roles, change their purposes, what happens to order? What happens to society?" Their conversation was interrupted by Lieutenant Bei Yujin, who entered the room speaking fluent Sector to Cathara. The insect-like alien's eyes widened in surprise. "How long have you been learning our language?" Cathara asked in English. "About a week," Yujin replied, switching back to English effortlessly. "It's similar to the Thoric language in some ways. So once I learned that one, this one was easier." "You learned Thorac as well, and Vellani and Basic Hegemony Standard, and 2 others. Languages are fun, they're like puzzles." Yujin sat down next to them, completely unaware of how shocked Cathara looked. "It takes our species years to learn another language," Cathara said slowly. "Our younglings study for decades to master even one additional tongue." "You learned 6 in 2 weeks," Yujin shrugged. "I had good teachers. Everyone here has been very patient with me." Later that day, Ji-woo found herself in conversation with Zarthok, a reptilian diplomat whose scales changed color when he was thinking hard. Right now, they were shifting through shades of deep purple. "Your species disturbs the natural order," Zarthok said, his voice like gravel. "Each race in the hegemony has evolved for a specific purpose. The Thorok are warriors, because they are strong and aggressive. The Vellani are artists, because they see beauty in all things. The Zector are researchers, because they are curious and patient. We are diplomats because we can see all sides of any issue." "That sounds like a good system," Ji-woo said carefully. "It is a perfect system. It has kept peace in the galaxy for 3,000 years. But humans, ... He paused, his scales shifting to a worried green. "Humans do everything. You fight like warriors, build like engineers, think like scholars, create like artists. You have no single nature, no defined role. Is that bad?" It is chaos, Zarthok replied firmly. Order comes from each being knowing their place, doing their job, staying in their role. When beings start trying to do everything, society breaks down, wars start, civilizations fall. But we're not at war with anyone. We came here in peace. Not yet. But what happens when other species see what you can do? What happens when our young warriors decide they want to be artists? When our builders decide they want to be scholars? When everyone wants to be everything, no one does anything well. Juwu thought about this as she walked back to her quarters that evening. Through the station's windows, she could see more human crew members working alongside aliens, sharing knowledge, learning from each other. It all seemed so natural to her, but she was beginning to understand why it frightened the hegemony leaders. Humans didn't just do one thing well, they did many things well, and they did them by breaking rules, mixing ideas, and trying new approaches. In a galaxy built on rigid specialization, that kind of flexibility wasn't just unusual, it was revolutionary. Security Chief Han Dongwook stared at the report on his screen, reading it for the third time. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. "Captain," he called out, his voice tight with concern. "You need to see this." Captain Lee Minho hurried over to Han's station. "What is it?" "Reports from across hegemony space. It's about the Thoric warriors." Han pointed to the screen. "They're asking to learn human art. Painting, music, poetry, things they've never cared about before." Minho frowned. The Thoric were the hegemony's military force, bred for thousands of years to be perfect soldiers. They lived for battle, trained constantly, and thought only of war and honor. Art was the last thing anyone would expect them to want. How many warriors are we talking about? Hundreds, maybe thousands. The reports keep coming in from different worlds. Young thorax soldiers are abandoning their training to attend art classes. Their commanders don't know what to do. Across the station, Cultural Exchange Officer Lim Nara was having her own strange experience. She sat in a room filled with Vellani artists, beings that looked like living crystals, their bodies reflecting light in beautiful colors. They had been listening to human music for hours. "Play the sad song again," requested Velara, the eldest. Among them, her crystal body glowed soft blue as she spoke, the one about loss and hope together. Nara played the recording again. It was a simple human ballad about a person missing someone they loved, but hoping to see them again someday. As the music filled the room, the Vellani began to change colors, their bodies shifting through shades Nara had never seen before. "We never knew music could carry so many feelings at once," Velara whispered. "Our songs are pure. They express one emotion perfectly. But this is messy and beautiful and painful and joyful all together." Within days, the Vellani artists began creating new works unlike anything their species had ever made. Instead of perfect, pure expressions of single emotions, they started making complex pieces that mixed feelings together. Their traditional art forms, unchanged for centuries, suddenly exploded with new possibilities. But not everyone was happy about these changes. On the central world of the hegemony, Elder Zendar stood before the emergency council session. His species, the Axiom, had led the hegemony for thousands of years. They were tall, thin beings with large heads and pale skin, known for their wisdom and careful thinking. "The corruption spreads faster than we anticipated," Zendar announced, his voice filled with anger. "Young beings across dozens of worlds are abandoning their traditional roles. Warriors want to make art, artists want to fight, builders want to explore space, scholars want to work with their hands." "How bad is it?" asked Councilmember Tethran, a reptilian diplomat whose scales had turned dark with worry. 17. Worlds reports social disruption. Protests in major cities. Young beings demanding the right to choose their own paths instead of following their species' destiny. Zendar's eyes, large and dark, seemed to burn with frustration. "This is exactly what we feared would happen. What do you recommend?" asked another council member. "The humans must be contained or eliminated. They are a disease that will destroy everything we have built." Meanwhile, on the research station, Captain Lee Minho was having a difficult conversation with his first officer, Kong Myung. They stood in his private quarters, speaking in quiet voices. "We never wanted this to happen," Minho said, looking tired and worried. "We came here to make friends, to learn about other species, to share knowledge peacefully." "I know, Captain, but look what we've done instead." Myung gestured toward the window where they could see alien ships patrolling nearby. "We've started some kind of revolution just by being ourselves." Weapons specialist Oh Kung-soo entered the room, carrying a datapad filled with intelligence reports. His job was to monitor potential threats, but lately, the threats seemed to be coming from everywhere. "Captain, The situation is getting worse, he reported. I'm picking up communications from across hegemony space. There are protests on at least 20 worlds now. Young aliens are refusing to stay in their assigned roles. What kind of protests? Myung asked. All kinds. Thorak warriors throwing down their weapons and demanding to attend art schools. Villani artists trying to join exploration crews. Builder caste aliens wanting to become teachers. Scholar class beings attempting to learn combat skills. Kung Su shook his head. Their security forces don't know how to handle it. Because this has never happened before, Minho realized. For thousands of years, every alien has been happy to do exactly what their species was supposed to do. Now suddenly they want choices. And it's spreading, Kung Su continued. Every day, more young aliens are questioning why they have to follow the paths their parents and grandparents followed. They want to be like humans, free to learn anything, try anything, become anything. Minho walked to the window and stared out at the stars. Somewhere out there, entire civilizations were changing because humans had shown them that change was possible. It should have felt like a victory, but instead, it felt like a terrible responsibility. We opened a door that can never be closed again, he said quietly. These young aliens have seen that they don't have to be what others expect them to be. They can choose for themselves. Is that so bad? Myung asked. Not for them, Minho replied, but it might destroy the only peace this galaxy has ever known. The revolution had begun, and it was spreading faster than anyone could control. The galaxy was burning. And it was all because humans had shown aliens that they could choose their own paths. Engineering. Specialist Shinwoo Jin wiped sweat from his forehead as he worked alongside 3 young aliens in a hidden workshop. The Thorak warrior named Grakthos had abandoned his military post to learn engineering. The Villani artist Shamara had left her crystal gardens to study technology. The Zekta researcher Kithian had broken away from his assigned research project to explore forbidden sciences. Hand me that power coupling, Wu Jin said to Greg. The massive warrior, whose kind had never touched anything more complex than weapons, carefully passed him the delicate component. Like this? Grakthos asked, his voice surprisingly gentle for someone bred for battle. Perfect. Now Shamara, can you adjust the crystal matrix? The Villani artist's body glowed with concentration as she used her natural crystal shaping abilities in ways her people had never imagined. Instead of creating beautiful sculptures, she was building computer processors that could think and adapt. The hybrid is working, Kithian reported, his compound eyes reflecting excitement. The ship's hull is actually changing shape as we fly. It's optimizing itself for different conditions. What they had created was impossible by hegemony standards. Ships were built to be ships, computers to be computers, weapons to be weapons. But this new technology could be all three, changing its function as needed. Across the station, Medical Officer Jung So-min worked frantically in the emergency medical bay. Injured aliens kept arriving from protest sites across the galaxy. Some were traditionalists who had been hurt trying to stop the rebellions. Others were young revolutionaries wounded by security forces. Bring him here, she called out as 2 Axiom medics carried in a wounded Thorak warrior. This one was a traditionalist, injured while trying to force young Thorak back to their barracks. The Axiom medics hesitated. He is the enemy, one said. He fights against change. Why should we help him? Because he's hurt and I'm a doctor, Somin replied firmly. That's the only thing that matters. She began treating the warrior's injuries while the Axiom medics watched. Her methods were different from theirs, where they followed strict protocols based on species-specific medicine. She adapted her treatment to what each individual patient needed. You're using Villani healing crystals on a Thorak? One medic asked in surprise. They worked better than traditional Thorak medicine for this type of injury, Somin explained as she worked. Why limit ourselves to old ways when better options exist? The wounded warrior opened his eyes and stared at her. You are human, he said weakly. Yes, I came here to fight against your influence. You are destroying our way of life. Maybe, Somin said gently as she continued treating him. But right now I'm trying to save your life. Is that so terrible? Communications technician on G sat surrounded by screens showing messages from across the galaxy. Each report was worse than the last. Captain, he called out urgently. You need to hear this. Captain Lee Minho hurried over as Ji-hoon played a recording from a hegemony emergency broadcast. Civil order has completely broken down on Veltar Prime. Young beings have taken over the Capitol building, demanding the right to choose their own professions. Security forces are unable to restore control. And this one, Ji-hoon continued, switching to another message. THORAK military command reports that 60% of their young warriors have abandoned their posts. They're calling it the human contagion. They say our ideas spread like a disease. How many worlds are affected now? Minho asked quietly. 43 that we know of. But the number keeps growing. Jihoon's face was grim. Captain, they're not just protesting anymore. On some worlds, the young aliens are fighting their own governments. There's actual civil war breaking out. Minho felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on him. They had come to explore, to make friends, to share knowledge. Instead, they had accidentally started a galaxy-wide revolution. First Officer Kang Mi-young approached with more bad news. Captain, I've been monitoring Hegemony Council communications. They're split into two factions now. The conservatives want to declare war on humanity. They're calling us a threat to galactic civilization. And the progressives, they think the changes are natural and should be allowed to happen. They want to protect us. Mi-young paused. But Captain, both sides are preparing for war. Against each other, the situation was spiraling completely out of control. What had started as curiosity about human flexibility had become a fundamental challenge to the way alien society worked. Young aliens had tasted freedom and refused to give it up. Their elders were terrified of losing the order that had kept peace for thousands of years. Sir, Communications Officer Park So-young called out from her station. We're receiving an urgent message from Earth Command. They want us to come home immediately. They say the situation here has become too dangerous. Minho stared out at the stars, thinking about all the young aliens who were risking everything for the right to choose their own lives. If he left now, what would happen to them? The traditionalists would crush the rebellion without human support. All those beings who had dared to dream of something different would be punished or worse. But if he stayed, he was risking not just his crew, but potentially starting an interstellar war that could destroy civilizations. The choice seemed impossible. Save his crew or save the revolution they had accidentally started. The galaxy waited for his decision. The great assembly hall on the Hegemony's central world had never seen anything like this. Thousands of beings from dozens of different species filled the massive chamber, their voices creating a storm of sound that echoed off the crystal walls. Outside, millions more gathered in the streets, waiting to hear what would happen next. Captain Lee Minho stood at the center of it all, his human crew beside him. They looked small and fragile compared to the alien representatives around them, but their presence had changed everything. Elder Zendar of the Axiom species stood at the traditional leadership podium, his pale face twisted with anger. Order, he shouted, his voice amplified throughout the hall. We will have order. But there was no order left to be had. The old system was crumbling, and everyone knew it. The humans must be expelled, called out General Thokvar of the military. They have poisoned our young with dangerous ideas. The change was inevitable, countered Diplomat Velshara of the Velani. We cannot stop evolution when it comes. The arguments grew louder, more heated. Some species demanded war against humanity. Others insisted that transformations were natural and should be embraced. The Hegemony Council, which had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years, was tearing itself apart. Minho watched it all with growing sadness. This wasn't what they had wanted. They had come in peace, seeking friendship and knowledge. Instead, they had accidentally destroyed the only government this part of the galaxy had ever known. Captain, whispered First Officer Kong Mi-young, maybe we should leave. Let them sort this out themselves. No, Minho replied quietly. We started this. We have to help finish it. He stepped forward, and somehow, his small movement caught the attention of the entire assembly. The massive hall gradually fell silent, as thousands of alien eyes focused on him. May I speak? He asked. Elder Zendar glared at him. You have done enough damage, Humor. Please, Minho said. Just let me say one thing. The silence stretched for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, it was young Cathara, the Zektar researcher, who spoke up from the assembly floor. Let him speak, she said. He has that right. Other young voices joined hers. Thorak warriors who had learned to paint, Valani, artists who had become explorers, builder caste aliens who had chosen to become teachers. The new generation that had discovered choice was demanding to be heard. Elder Zenda looked around the hall, seeing the faces of the young aliens who had started this revolution with obvious reluctance. He nodded. Minho stepped forward to the speaking platform. His voice was calm and clear as it carried throughout the hall. The old system is already broken, he said. You can't force beings back into cages once they've tasted freedom. You can't make them forget that they have choices. Angry voices rose from the traditionalist sections. But Minho continued, instead of fighting this change, embrace it. Instead of trying to stop your young people from growing, help them grow. Science Officer Kim Tae-jin joined him at the platform. We propose something new, he said. Not a hierarchy where some species rule others, but a partnership where all species work together as equals. Cultural Officer Lim Nara stepped forward. Next, every species here has amazing abilities. The Thorak are strong and brave. The Villani see beauty in everything. The Zekta understand complex problems. The Axiom are wise planners. She gestured to the assembly. Imagine what you could accomplish if you combined all these strengths instead of keeping them separate. But without structure, there will be chaos, protested elders and there's already chaos, Minho replied gently. The structure you're trying to preserve is falling apart. The question is, will you help build something better, or will you let everything collapse? For a long moment, the hall was completely silent. Then, slowly, young Cathara stood up. I support this proposal, she said. I want to work with beings from other species. I want to learn from them and teach them. One by one, other young aliens stood up. Thorak warriors who had discovered art, Villani artists who had learned engineering, builders who had become explorers, the new generation that had chosen their own paths. But then something unexpected happened. Some of the older aliens began standing too. Elder Velshara of the Villani rose from her seat. Perhaps, she said slowly, it is time for change. More followed, not all of them, but enough. The vote, when it came, was closer than anyone had expected. But change won. The hegemony officially dissolved that day, replaced by something new called the confluence. Instead of rigid hierarchies, there would be voluntary cooperation. Instead of assigned roles, there would be chosen paths. Instead of species staying separate, there would be mixed crews and shared projects. Engineer Choi Haewon helped design the first mixed species research stations. Pilot Seo Junho taught alien crews new flight techniques that combined human innovation with alien capabilities. The young aliens who had started the revolution became the first ambassadors of the new system. Months later, as the New Dawn prepared to return to Earth, Minho stood on the observation deck watching the construction of a new space station. Thorak engineers worked alongside Villani artists and Zektar scientists, building something none of them could have created alone. Do you think it will work? Asked Myung, joining him at the window. Minho smiled. They've already changed more than they probably realize. They've discovered that they don't have to be what others expect them to be. That's the most powerful force in the universe. Humanity's gift to the galaxy hadn't been superior technology or military strength. It had been something much simpler and much more revolutionary. The idea that anyone could choose their own destiny. The first human ship had entered alien space, and everything had changed, not through war or conquest, but through the simple act of showing others that transformation was possible.